You're coming under fire this morning for some comments you made last night. We want to get your take on this. You were at a private fundraiser there for Scott Walker, and you basically said, well, it's being construed as whether or not you're challenging the president's patriotism. You said this: when I hear the president speak, I don't believe that he expresses the love of America as much as he does criticism of America. What do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, I'm not questioning his patriotism. He's a patriot, I'm sure. What I'm saying is that in his rhetoric, I very rarely hear him say the things that I used to hear Ronald Reagan say, the things I used to hear Bill Clinton say about how much he loves America. I do hear him criticize America much more often than other American presidents. And when it's not in the context of an overwhelming number of statements about the exceptionalism of America, it sounds like he's more of a critic than he is a supporter. And you can be a patriotic American and be a critic, but then you're not expressing that kind of love that we're used to from a president.
Sure. You know, that kind of goes along with what the president wrote yesterday in the LA Times, where he was talking about ISIS, which, as we all know, Islamic terrorists.
Right.
He won't say Islamic, that part, but he said they have legitimate concerns. Put yourself in their shoes.
I think in the context of what we're facing right now, that's a very, very damaging statement.
Why?
Because what we're facing are people chopping people's heads off, burning people, killing people because they're Christians, killing people because they're Jews, a president who won't acknowledge that. So what he's got to do, if he wants to create a battle of ideas, if this is a battle for the hearts and minds of people, we got to call it. We got to call it something. You and I cannot have a discussion about which is a better idea, Islamic extremism or, let's say, moderate Islam, if we don't describe it as extreme.
It's a game of.
But he says it's a lie.
Terror
he says if we treat them as religious leaders, as a real state, then it's a lie. But that's precisely what ISIS wants. They are a state. They have a bureaucracy.
Well, that's just them. I mean, okay, fine. Put ISIS aside.
That's them. What about us?
What about Iran? Iran has been an Islamic extremist murdering state, the biggest sponsor of terrorism for the last 30 years. Right now, the biggest sponsor of terrorism. It's filled with ayatollahs who murder people. More people have died under Rouhani than under Ahmadinejad. And the president's negotiating with them. They are part of the Islamic extremist movement. If you don't call it something, you can't connect the dots. If you can't connect the dots, you can't really combat it militarily. You've had many generals sit here and colonels and tell you that. But you also can't have the battle of ideas. And what I question about the president maybe is even broader than that he doesn't express a love of America enough, which I don't think he does. I think he talks more about criticism rather than about what an exceptional country we are. At least I don't feel that from him. Maybe I'm missing something. But I don't feel that. I don't also believe he expresses the love of Western civilization that he should, or an understanding of Western civilization, or what Western civilization has brought to the world. It's had its grave faults, terrible sins, but it's also gone through things like the Protestant Reformation, the Catholic Counter-Reformation. We have 3 different forms of Judaism at least: Reform, Conservative, Orthodox. They all live together. They don't kill each other. They don't stone each other. One time they did, back a long time ago. But now how about we talk about how we get Islam into the modern age, where there's a recognition that you have to have this kind of debate within your religion, that it's got to come out in the open, it's got to be discussed. If you refuse to say that there are extremist members of the Islamic religion, well, then it sounds like you're living on Mars.
They're using the religion as the touchstone to justify what they're doing.
Well, as others have in the past. Forever. But that's a long time ago.
Well, absolutely.
In the modern world, they're the ones who are doing it.
Sure.
And if you're going to debate it, you've got to call it what it is.
Absolutely.
No,
and you also have to describe our country correctly. Our country is not just any other country. We're just not another country. This is an exceptional country, as I pointed out in that speech. This is the only country that has fought in 2 major wars, left its dead young men, in those cases, behind, and took nothing, took no land, took no money. I think Colin Powell once said all we asked for was a cemetery. That's an exceptional country.
Absolutely.
With its faults that we should work on. And its faults should be the footnote, and the headline should be, what a wonderful country we are.
Well said.
All right.
Thank you.
After a big night last night, thanks for getting up early on the Curvy Catch there.